beginning, we both lived, I lived in Belcarra, Ruth lived down the street in Belcarra. We crossed this creek every day on the way to school. Noticed it ran nice and crystal clear, a rather pristine looking creek. Looked like double distilled water, nice and sparkly clear, whereas Noon's Creek was a little browner and not quite as pretty a looking creek in terms of water. And so we thought, boy, this is a nice little creek, and I wonder if there's much life in it. So we started looking at water temperature and looking at life here, and then thought, well, we needed some vehicle to transact our science classes with nature. So what could we do to get kids outdoors doing some things that we consider important biology, maybe even applied biology? So from that, we just somehow together figured out that this might be a creek to look at. It's rather, the access is good. There's no houses right by it at that time, but April Road wasn't even built when we started then. It was just in the process of being built. So we started on a creek that didn't have any fish, but had lots of potential. It was on its way back from being logged and first urbanization and pressure on fish, maybe even poaching fish, fishing and all that. There was nothing in it, so we thought, well, this is a good one to start with.
We started a club at the school, at Centennial School in Coquitlam, and so we came out on a regular basis with a small core of kids, and almost right away we started taking those kids to a course that DFO was putting on at Kwantlen College in Surrey, because they were about to start up the Salmonid Enhancement Program, public involvement, part of that public involvement program, and so they were wanting to let people know about all the current knowledge about salmon and small streams and how to bring them back. They were interested in this, so we sort of became the first group to do this, probably.
Yeah. I think we are the first group. Must be. I don't know of any other. The first school group.
Yeah.
And then people would say our students became very knowledgeable. You could ask them about any phase of the chum life cycle, from when they started in September in school till when they were finished in May or June, and they became very knowledgeable. And people would say, well, what class are these kids taking? What course are they in? What's going on here? You know, what are they getting credit for? And they said, no, this is a club. They're total volunteers. They don't get credit. They can get jobs from it and all this stuff. They could write down for summer employment. They could work in a hatchery, but it wasn't a course. So Ruth put together, and the rest of us, mainly spearheaded by Ruth, a class called Fisheries Ecology 12. And from there, the club moved into an actual course.
And if I can say, it was an addition. Like, the club has continued from 1976 until today, and now one of our ex-students, Melanie Matson, is the teacher at Centennial who spearheads the program, the Fish and Wildlife 12 program it's called now, and there's of course Wildlife of BC 11. There used to be a career prep program associated with that as well. So she's doing that. She's driving the bus and bringing the club up here on Wednesdays as well. So there's a very, very strong club this year of kids who are absolutely crushed that their clubhouse and their cool activities have come to a bit of a halt here. We are still in touch with an enormous number of the original people who helped to start this program as a club and then start the society. And so many of them have come forward in the last week to say they want to help. And they're one of the ways they're helping, which is huge, is they're going through their old newspaper clippings and photos, and they're going to help us put our archives back together.
Although it raised fish, I always thought we did a better job of raising children, or a more important job of raising children. And a lot went on to careers, tremendous number of careers in science and medicine, an interest in biology, and even those that didn't. We have things like off-road mountain 4x4 clubs, but they certainly take a whole different ethic to the environment. They'd never think of emptying oil on a stream side or doing detrimental things, running an ATV through a creek, even though they didn't pursue a career in fisheries or biology or science. It set an ethic, and it created an awareness, and that's what we were, probably is more important, I thought, than the fish. And we transacted nature with the kids. And then I've sort of gone beyond there. I think now, rather than just transacting it, it has to be transformational. People's lives have to change. It wasn't just industrial education for jobs or things like that. And latterly, we've gotten into, I guess, things we do should make a difference, and people should be transformed by this experience in nature. And so it's been transmission, transaction, and now transformation, and we're into another transformation again. How will our architecture define what we do in nature here? What will we rebuild? How will we rebuild? And what kind of center will it be? It'll always raise fish.
Welcome and thank you for coming to Mossom Creek Hatchery and Education Center. My name is George Asaf. I'm the Vice President of the Burrard Inlet Marine Enhancement Society, otherwise known as B.I.M.E.SK. We are here to celebrate the next stage of our reconstruction, where we are going to do a ceremonial sod turning, and it marks where we've actually got to the point where we can start building construction. We're working on our funding still, but we'll have a little bit more on that from our construction manager, Pat Dennett, in a little while. It's my honor to speak to you today and tell you a little bit about what this means to all of us. You look at this, and we are at nature's doorstep here. We're in a major metropolitan area, and we've got this beautiful, lovely forest that we're surrounded by that actually helps feed all of us. It feeds us emotionally, it feeds us figuratively and literally. The fish that we help rear here, the coho, are food fish. They get caught commercially, they get caught recreationally, and they can be part of our nourishment. Not only that, but they help nourish the wildlife around us. We have bears that come down and they eat the fish when they're coming back to spawn. We've got smaller animals that eat the fish when they're small fry and smolts as they're getting ready to go. We've got birds that eat the eggs. And all those animals and creatures take all those nutrients that these fish bring back to the creek, and they spread it throughout the watershed. And that's what allows these trees to survive. It's an amazing, amazing cycle that a lot of people don't really understand. And that's part of what we do here at the Burrard Inlet Marine Enhancement Society and the Mossum Creek Education Center, Hatchery and Education Center. We teach a lot of people, and you're going to meet, one of our young volunteers later who is going to talk about, what this means to her as well. And by having that education that comes through here with the hundreds and hundreds of people that come through here every year, we can spread this information out and make people more aware of how important it is to protect vital spaces like this, and to protect our wild salmon stocks, and to protect our native salmon stocks. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, the Honourable James Moore, Member of Parliament for Port Moody, Westwood, Port Coquitlam.
I'm going to speak very, very briefly, but it's great to have so many people here from the community who are here. I saw Heather Anderson is here. Mike Clay is going to speak in a minute as well. But to have the councillors from Port Moody, I wasn't in town when the fire happened. I saw it actually over Twitter when the news broke out, and it was like a kick in the stomach. Everybody in the community had the same reaction. I think everybody who's here, MLAs and city councilors alike, right after the fire happened, we all heard that it happened, and it was a devastating shot to the community. But what's been so impressive about this project as it's come forward is the way in which it's actually drawn the community together to rebuild and to move forward and to keep building on the legacy. This will be a hiccup in the sweep of the history that is this hatchery, and it's going to be rebuilt and moving forward, and I think with an even better enhanced infrastructure and programming going forward. One thing that I did point out, and I do love this, the Mossum Creek 2.0, which is what it is moving forward, is actually the list of those who have contributed to this outside of government. We often talk in society about contributions, for example, of the corporate community and giving back. This small sheet, and the contributions that have been made, this is what good corporate citizenship looks like. This is contributing back to the community to support the rebuilding of an important hatchery for our community, for our sense of identity, for the environment, and for all the great educational work that is done here. So it's fantastic to have all of this support and to have some of those representatives who are here. Thank you very much for your contribution. And I'll just close by saying I noted that the hatchery began in 1976. Happens to be the year I was born. Put it put it a different way. I have not known. I've lived in the Tri-Cities all my life. I have not known a Tri-Cities without the Mossum Hatchery. My son is 20 months old. He will not know a Tri-Cities without a Mossum Hatchery that is here doing great things for the community, doing great things for educational opportunities, bringing us all together. Pat, thank you for the work that you're doing, being a persistent pest, but a good one, and getting in my face and getting contributions. Pacific Salmon Foundation, everybody who's been involved, and thank you everybody for being here. This is a good day for Mossum Creek 2.0 and moving forward. So thanks very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is going to be the Mayor of Port Moody, the Honourable Mike Clay.
There's no honor in being the mayor, but it's a lot of fun sometimes, especially when we get to come out and work with groups like the Mossom Creek Hatchery and be part of a day like today. So we have members of City Council here today: Diana Dilworth, Jerry Nuttall, Zoe Royer, and I think that's what we have today. The others have jobs, I guess, unfortunately. But I was in town on that Wednesday, and I got a text message that said the hatchery's on fire, and I'm at the hatchery right now. It's not on fire. Apparently, I was at the wrong hatchery, and right there is a start of knowing that I live in a city that has two great hatcheries, and that we're built around our natural environment here, and we care about it, and we nurture it, as George has said. So I came up to the base of the road where the fire department, the Anmore Fire Department was here, the Sassmet Fire Department, the Port Moody Department was just arriving. The police were blocking off the road, and Reiner was out on the road with me, and we stood and had conversations of just disbelief. And after about a half an hour, the worst thing possible happened, and George came home from work. George lives at the bottom of this road, if you don't know that, and George got to come home from work that night to be greeted. He couldn't get up his own driveway because the fire trucks were here, trying to put out the fire at the hatchery that he's worked so hard on and spent his time on. And it was a really, really, really sad evening. And we were trying to get phone numbers for people. We were all going through our cell phones and trying to phone people. We were trying to phone Ruth and Rod and all the other people. And it was just sad. And there were moments when we just stood at the bottom of the street and went, wow, the hatchery's gone. People came, the firefighters came down and were giving us reports. And it was like, wow, the hatchery's gone. But I woke up early the next morning and I knew that every cloud has a silver lining. And this was all we could take this as was an opportunity to move this to 2.0, as James has just said, that this was going to be a new day for the hatchery, and opportunities like that you don't wish on anybody, but we're seeing now what a huge opportunity this is to bring the hatchery to a new level, to a new generation, for the new kids to come up here and learn, for the volunteers to come up here and work, and to really celebrate the gift that we've been given where we live. I was at Rocky Point Park 6 days ago. I guess we were doing a check presentation for a fundraiser, and there was a guy paddleboarded over from Deep Cove. He said, "Oh, I've never been here before." He said, "By paddleboard." He said, "It's a really magnificent trip." And we had a conversation, and the conversation ended. We were talking, and I said to him, "You know what? We live in the most beautiful place on earth, and all we're asked to do in return is to take care of it." And the people here at the hatchery are doing that. They're taking care of it. They're preserving this little stretch of wilderness, of natural ecosystem in an area that's otherwise, being developed and changing from what it looked like hundreds of years ago. But we thank you on behalf of everybody on City Council and the city. We support you. We thank you. We thank all of you for coming out today. We thank Minister Moore for coming today, and our MLI Reamer, was here today, I think. Linda, no? Didn't make it today. Okay, but we know that the federal and the provincial government support this. And as I told Tracy when they talked about fundraising, this is going to be the easiest fundraising drive you've ever done, because everybody in this community supports the Mossum Creek Hatchery. So great to be here today with you, George, and with the rest of the crew, and Pat and Ruth and everybody. Thank you for all you're doing, and we look forward to opening this and having another event up here. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor Clay. Our next speaker is one of our young volunteers, Ella Green.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ella Green, and I have volunteered at Mossom Creek Hatchery since I was this small. When I heard that the hatchery burned down in December, I was devastated. Mossum Creek Hatchery was not only a place to raise salmon, it was a place where I could spend time at a beautiful creek full of all kinds of interesting insects, wildlife, and a wonderful education center that taught me so many things as a volunteer. On volunteer days, there are always many people to meet and learn from, including scientists, biologists, and sometimes even artists. I like bringing my own friends here so I could teach them about frogs, plants, insects, and of course, salmon. Many people, including me, are working very hard to raise money to help rebuild this place, and I am grateful for that. My hope is that we can start rebuilding the hatchery soon. I've learned a lot of volunteering at Mossum Creek Hatchery and met many wonderful people. With your help rebuilding Mossum Creek Hatchery, myself and tons of other kids will get to enjoy this very special place and discover new things about the environment every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. I would like to just make a note that we also have Heather Anderson here from the village of Anmore and Ralph Drew from the village of Belcara. Thank you for coming as well. Our next speaker is our construction manager and tireless hard worker. He's put in countless hours so far in the last 7 months, and it's been just an amazing effort. And he is probably the prime reason why we're at the stage where we're at today. Mr. Pat Dennett, please.
Thanks, George. I'll be trying to give you a good overview of where we are, where we started, and where we are to date, just so everybody knows, because we keep getting asked, how's the fundraising, where's the building, the schedule, everything else. So my name is Pat Dennett. I'm a director of B.I.M.E.SK, and I'm also the construction manager for Mossum Creek Hatchery. And like all the other society members that are here today, I'm volunteering all my services to be part of this. And you've heard from Ella, I mean, who could say it better than the reason why we're here? And I mean, I look forward to my grandchildren being here to enjoy this too. So today is a very significant day for B.I.M.E.SK. It signifies that we have all the approvals in place and we are ready to start construction of our new hatchery and education center. I'd like to say special thanks to James Moore for his tremendous support that he has given me behind the scenes, and for taking the time out of his busy schedule to come out here today, James. And also to thank Mike Clay, the city staff, and all the councillors for their big efforts to work with me and with our group to help us along this way. It takes a whole team working together, and I think we've demonstrated that to get to this milestone today. So to give you a quick overview of the events leading up to today since the devastating loss, December 11th, I'll give you a snapshot of how we got to today. In January, the Society was brought together and guided through a planning process under the guidance of Gaetan Royer and City State Design and Planning. Gaetan's right here. It was a very thorough process where we looked at all different options and whole different ideas from all the group, and we put everything down and started from there. And demolition commenced at the end of January, and with the assistance of our partners, Pacific Blasting and Demolition and Super Safe Group, we were able to achieve a 97% recycle of all our demolition materials, which I think is quite commendable. And following that, we had to renegotiate agreements with the City of Port Moody and with Imperial for site access. We were required by the city to go through a development permit application process, and one of our senior partners, who are well represented today, is SNC Lavalin Water Environmental, and they stepped forward and volunteered to assist at no cost to help us through this. And this is a big process, trust me. This was quite an undertaking, and we were able to submit May 7th our whole application to the city. And this was reviewed by staff and put forward to before council and was unanimously approved June 27th. Working drawings commenced in May, and we submitted our building permit application June 20th. And July 10th, we received our building permit approval. So in just over 6 months, we were able to go from the loss of this hatchery to now being ready to start construction. So the design of the building was governed by a number of elements, including today's new fishery standards, current building code bylaws, and washroom requirements and construction methods. Furthermore, the building was evolved from a one-story building to two, and that enabled us to reduce our footprint on this site, to move the shed behind me inside with all the contents. Our coho tubs are outside, they're going to be moved inside, and so we're looking at ways and means to improve what we did in the past. And this is, the loss created an opportunity, as Mike pointed out. So since the original drawings were produced, we have significantly simplified the design for cost-saving measures. We changed the construction of the ground floor hatchery to a complete concrete structure. And this will allow us to build our facility, to put our incubation room inside, and to avoid missing another salmon cycle. We're undertaking the construction of the building on a construction management basis, where we are the construction managers, and we're tendering the project on a fast-track basis so that we can get people involved here when we need them and don't have to wait till we have everybody in place. So it's one more thing that we can do to improve the schedule. Our budget started at 1.28 million. We've been able to reduce that to 1.13 through some cost-saving measures. And because of our funding goals, and it's a big number that we had to meet, we decided to split it up into base building and fit out. So we, another step in helping us move forward with the build. We've had tremendous support from our community, the construction community in particular. I've beat up a lot of my friends and contacts, so they've been ducking for cover, but there's not too many places to hide. So one of our big partners is Lafarge Canada. They heard about our loss, and with their goals to meet sustainability, education, and environment, they came forward and said, look, I mean, we think your project fits into our goals and would like to support you. So they're going to donate all the concrete, forming, placing, and pumping to do our project. That's huge. And we really like to thank them for that. And in their involvement, we're introducing some sustainability components, and we're using recycled wash water. We're reducing the cement content, which put greenhouse gases in the atmosphere by adding fly ash. And we're using their product called Hydromedia for our site coverage, which is a relatively new product, so reduces footprint coverage, and so it's all great. And for the construction of the hatchery, we're made aware of a study that was done by one of the universities, which indicated there was some interference between reinforced steel in concrete and the Earth's magnetic field. And salmon are guided back to their original birthplace by navigating under the Earth's magnetic field. So even though this study is incomplete, we decided that we would try to take some initiatives to address this. So what we're doing is we're introducing, removing reinforcing from the slab of the concrete slab, and we're putting a fiberglass admixture in the concrete, and that'll reduce any impact from the flooring. And then the walls, what we've done is we've replaced with the regular steel reinforcing with stainless steel, which is non-magnetic. So it's a cost to us, but we just felt that it's a way that we can demonstrate that we at least took some steps to address this type of thing. So as of last week, we had received cash donations in kind and insurance proceeds of totaling $730,000, and this left us $150,000 short of our base building goals and $400,000 short of our overall objectives. Today, our picture has changed significantly. We're pleased to announce that we've been given a tremendous opportunity from our neighbors, Imperial. They have offered a one-time matching funding opportunity towards our education and programming component of $75,000. Now this match funding is open until September 15th. So again, we're going to ask that everybody present get out and get that offer out to the community so we can get everybody stepping up again to match that funding and give us $150,000, which is a huge step. So the next thing we did last weekend, we had our gala barbecue, and it was a huge success. Everybody had a great time, and we were able to raise at last count around $25,000, a little bit probably more than that, but that's what we have to date. So that's a huge effort. Thanks to Tracy Green that organized this unbelievable effort. And we were really pleased with the exposure we got from that. And one other bit of good news is that Reiner and I have been negotiating with the insurance company since the beginning of January, trying to get a settlement for what we're covered for. And they had taken a step or a position that exposed us for the bylaw coverage upgrade for any new construction, and this was pretty hurtful in what we were expecting. So we've been back and forth and some pretty intense negotiations. And as of this morning, they advised me that they've taken a new position and they will be negotiating with us for coverage under that extension, which won't be the full amount, but it'll be significantly a portion of that. So that's big, and that'll allow us to meet our goals of starting construction when we want to. So as of today, following the ceremony, another of our big supporters, as James mentioned, Pacific Salmon Foundation. I've been pushing their door a little bit behind the scenes, and James has been helping me with his staff. So they've stepped up and have really tried to open up as many doors as they have. And after the ceremony, they're going to be presenting us with a $100,000 check, which was previously announced. But this will be the official day to present that and us receiving the money. And Reiner can put it in his coffers. So the bottom line is that we're a lot closer to meeting their funding goals, and I would say we're approximately $200,000 short today, and this will be updated in the next couple of weeks. But the good news is we are now in a position to start construction, and we will start next month in August. Site preparation and concrete work will start in September. So our goal is to complete next May. And our hatchery component, as I said, will be ready beginning of January. So in closing, we really want to thank everybody for attending today, and in particular thank our supportees and our community for stepping up and getting in behind us and helping us to get to where we are today. Thank you. Dig in. Dig in. There we go.
Okay, one for me. Perfect. And again, one more. Here we go. Thank you.
My name is George Asaf. I'm the Vice President of the Burrard Marine Enhancement Society, and we had a great turnout. It was a wonderful event. Lots of amazing support from the community. We had our MP, James Moore, came out and spoke for us, as well as Mike Clay, the Mayor of Port Moody, and we also had the mayors from Anmore and Belcarra as well. Huge support from the corporations and individuals. It's an amazing event today. Just as a reminder that we do have matching grants that have been proposed for us, and if we can raise another $75,000, we get a matching grant from Imperial Oil. So everybody open up your checkbooks, especially you guys with the big bucks.